Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review the Belko Experiment, which is a very intense genre film about a bunch of employees stuck in an office building told that they have to kill each other. Now, this film was written by James Gunn, who has brought us the Guardians of the Galaxy, but also Slither and Super, and this was directed by Greg McLean. And overall, he does a very solid job of putting this film together. It's very well paced. I never once felt bored, even though it is only an hour and 30-minute film. And it really has a very good sense of momentum building up everything. And it does a really good job of balancing a lot of characters and you getting little pieces of each of them that you actually feel a connection to them when they're about to bite the dust. Because a lot of people die in this movie, and it's very, very violent and very bloody, and there's a lot of killing in this film. And I appreciate the fact that they do a lot of this with very practical makeup and actual like props and stuff like that, which you don't see a whole lot of in a lot of action films today. You see a lot of CGI like blood squibs, but like they went full blown and it made it just even more disturbing and intense. Now, in terms of some of the less positive things in terms of the direction here, I think one of the biggest things that goes against this film is that, and this is a very subjective thing, and this was just for me, this film's too dark. And it's like, yeah, it's fine to have a dark film and deal with very serious stuff and have that kind of tone, but this film overall just felt really mean spirited, and there wasn't really any sense of redemption or redeeming qualities about what happens in this film. Is basically like you're here to watch a bunch of people die. And I think that, and I've had these feelings about Super, which I saw, which was written and directed by James Gunn. And besides the Guardians of the Galaxy, I feel like his films are a little too far for me. Which that might not bother you. You might eat this up, but just from my perspective, it was a little too dark and could have balanced a little more humor into things. And I feel like that might have been more on the director and how he directed things, because there were some lines that could have cut the tension a little more, but just how it was put together really didn't. How it was all set up. And also, there's a very big time element into this. They have a lot of time deadlines in this film, and I feel like it loses a lot of sense of time logic along the way, which kind of hurts the film because it's like, how the hell are they doing all these things in a certain amount of time that they're given, and you have no idea how much time's left, and that could hurt some of the tension. But overall, the suspense and the tension in this film is at times unbearable, and that's the biggest highlight of the film. This is thrilling, and if you're there to get some suspense and be on the edge of your seat, you will be in this film, and that's a really big positive. Now, the cinematography was done by Louis David Sansons, and overall, it's a well shot film. The action is handled pretty well, and in terms of building the tension, how the shots are put together, it doesn't have the greatest. Well, you're in an office building and you feel that very drab kind of feel to the building and everything like that, which is fine, which kind of helps with the sense of, oh, this is just a boring office kind of thing, and all these crazy things happen, and I feel like that helps towards what they're trying to get through with this. And in terms of, this was, I believe the budget for this film was $5 million. There's CGI shots and green screen shots, and they look pretty bad, to be perfectly honest. And sometimes it's don't have enough money to reach the ambitions that you want to go, which you might want to make some other choices in those situations. But some of the shots looked pretty bad, and that kind of took me out of the film at certain points. In terms of the editing, Julia Wong does a really, really good job of how putting all the frames and the shots and everything put together, and the flow of this film really helps build that tension. And that's the biggest driving force of this film, is putting you on the edge of your seat, and that's a really big redeeming quality of this film. Now, James Gunn, who wrote the script for this film, I'm a huge fan of the Guardians of the Galaxy films, and he really shows that he can balance a whole bunch of characters, and he really does that in this film. You're introduced to a bunch of characters at the beginning of this film, but they're so well written to feel like like actual people, that you do have a connection to all these people in this short amount of time, and them dying does hit you. And in terms of how it's put together, there's some lines that are in the dialogue that I felt like, yeah, that's some nice dark comedy and stuff like that. In terms of delivery and how it's put together, might not have hit where it's supposed to, but I don't feel like that's on the writing in the film. It is a very interesting story and a concept. And going with that, this film could have been better, and it could have been a higher standard of film. And I feel like it's lost in the fact that, at least to me, there's a really unsatisfying resolution to this film. And in terms of where this film goes, it kind of just loses itself in forgetting about the commentary that it's doing on human beings and the social commentaries that it's trying to put forth, which most of it's only covered on very surface level, and there's dialogue about those films, but you never really get a real sense of them digging into really looking at those themes. And it kind of gets lost in, okay, we're just going full blown time to just kill people. And by the end, that's really where this is going, and you kind of lose a sense of the different kinds of conflicts and battles with your conscience that a lot of the characters have to go through. And by the end, it's just like, there you go, just kill people. And it kind of loses some of those important things that it's trying to talk about. Now, in terms of the acting, honestly, the acting in this was fantastic, and everyone did their part really well, and they all felt like real people. John Gallagher Jr., who plays the main character in this film, was also in 10 Cloverfield Lane, which I really enjoyed him in. He does a very nice job of leading through this film, but the real standout is Tony Goldwyn, who also voiced Tarzan in Disney's Tarzan. He was the COO of this company. He's supposed to be in charge, and boy does he deliver a fantastic performance. He really captures the intensity of his moral dilemmas in this film, to the point where he has a family that he needs to get back to, but then realizing that these people are his friends, and you might not agree with all the actions that he does, but you can tell that there is true conflict going on, and Goldwyn does a fantastic job of portraying that in this film. In terms of the music, Tyler Bates uses an effective but not really memorable score. It really sets the mood to the film, but it's not something that I'm going to be listening to later. Overall, I think the Belko Experiment was a really tense and engaging genre film. I feel like there were some things that held it back from being a truly great film, but honestly, if you're really into that kind of genre of tense, claustrophobic, kind of gross out horror thrillers, this is right up your alley, and you should definitely go out and see this in theaters. I can't recommend this to everybody because I know for a fact that this is not a movie for everybody. And overall, I thought it was a pretty good film for me, and I'm going to give the Belko Experiment a B minus.